Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to the stream. I'm trying to remember where I was last week when I stopped. Let's see here. 11. Yeah, I did a bunch of tweaking and stuff since last week. Oh yeah, so fix short lines not being rendered by ensuring minimal pixel coverage. So I did find, we found this last stream and I finally committed it, but I'm not super satisfied. So we figured out that basically at low resolutions we needed a minimal pixel coverage to make sure that our lines are always rendered at low resolutions, but actually I find that it makes it look bad even at higher resolutions. So I just wanted to take a look at that. Hey Lisp Gamer, how's it going? I'm pretty good, you? So yeah, basically what I'm talking about is this. So now, like, at very low resolutions, oh, that doesn't look that great. But we can pretty much see that we've got, like, I think part of this, hold on. Oh, you mean for the Ludum Dare? Yeah, I mean, I don't think so, man. I think, like, I have enough going on that I'm not going to add some more to my super busy schedule. Yeah, so I think now you do have, like, you know, all lines rendered, but the problem is that I find it's just a bit too thick. I mean, maybe I'm wrong there, but like we really see now the, you know, the aliasing here. And of course, you know, when we enable blurring, it hides it a bit for sure. But yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if this is the right solution, or if, you know, if we should be messing around with this a bit more. What do you mean by ready in time? What is it that you have to prepare? Okay, you want like some kind of basic library thing? Is this your own engine? You want to like go in with your own thing rather than use like Unity or Unreal? What about SDL? Don't want to just use SDL2 for stuff like audio? Or do you mean you just need to like, you know, code the higher level abstraction around the audio stuff? just need a mixer and synth. I want the audio procedural as well. I want to drive it from the game. Oh, okay. So you want to make everything procedural? Have you been watching all the demo scene stuff that came out of Revision a couple weeks ago? The big demo scene party there in Germany. I think this game is probably the one that you know exacerbates the aliasing problem the most because of all the diagonal lines. Everything is a diagonal line in here, you know, long and diagonal, so it really shows. Yeah, exactly. The ski demo was really cool. Yeah, no, I was thinking about doing some, enabling some FSAA or just some kind of anti-aliasing. That might just be the right solution for all this. So I have a version before. Let me just see something. Before all my changes, and I just wanted to kind of compare. something is not quite right. See, like, it looks almost like this one's just lower resolution, actually. Hey, Moosey boy. How's it going? Well, there's one easy way for me to find out. I'm going to use render doc and I'm just going to see what's going on. Okay, so let's take a look at this. (742 by 778). Okay, so let's see now when I run the new one. Let's go into here. You know, I'll just launch another render doc. What did I do? Okay. Hey, Basil Burrito. Can I ask you something? How do you stay motivated to keep working on the same project for so long? Every time I start with an exciting project, I kind of lose interest after a couple of weeks, and then it ends up on the 10% finished abandoned projects pile. Got some tips? I think my tip would be stream it. Because I'm pretty sure one of the reasons I'm still doing this is because I'm streaming it. That's one reason anyway. Like, I think if I wasn't streaming this project, first of all, I'd probably be further ahead, to be honest. Definitely streaming slows you down, but at the same time, it makes it kind of more fun because, you know, I have people coming on, asking questions who are interested. The other thing is definitely give yourself interesting challenges in your project, right? I mean, I guess that might seem kind of obvious, but you know, like, for me, when I wrote my first emulator, which was a NES emulator, I did it using SDL2 and I didn't do any shader stuff. And so for the second one, I decided to choose Vectrex, partly because I actually own a Vectrex, but also because I knew it would be more challenging on a few fronts. Although the output is technically simpler than what the NES can do, doing a vector-based output display has actually been more challenging for different reasons. You know, for reasons like what I've been fighting, which is there's this whole thing about the analog, and then also how making it look like what a CRT display looks like. And I gave myself the challenge of using shaders, which was something I didn't have much experience with. Also, the Vectrex is a lot less well documented, so I knew I'd have to dig a lot deeper into documentation and do a little bit more guesswork and a bit more, you know, trial and error to figure out how it works. So these kinds of interesting challenges is what keeps me going. But yeah, I think, you know, I highly recommend people who are want to program on something to just go ahead and stream it. You know, I think I encourage this kind of, you know, dev streaming thing because, well, for one, you build a sense of community, you get people interested, you start sharing your knowledge. And secondly, I think it's really good to show people that, you know, it doesn't matter how many years experience you have. You make lots of mistakes, you have false starts, you try things work, things don't work. It's fun to share in the, you know, when you have some nice wins on stream, it's really great. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I make big mistakes, and that's all right, you know. I think all of that is kind of fun to share, and I think it's important for people to see that that's how real projects are made, right? A lot of people have this sense when they see the finished product from other people, and they're so impressed by, you know, how great they seem, and then but if you actually watch them work at it, you realize that just like everyone else, they make tons of mistakes and they try things, and you know. So I think that's a good reason in my mind to stream. So yeah, I think, you know, that's what I would recommend. I guess ultimately it comes down to, you know, do you have an audience? You know what I mean? Because sometimes you work on a personal project and like if there's no one interested in consuming what you have, if you don't have anybody consuming it, right? Like anyone who wants to use what you're doing or anything, that can be, you know, demotivating, right? But, and you know, like when you work on something, it oftentimes takes a long time to get people interested in your project or even using it or playing your game or whatnot. But I find like streaming is like a way to kind of get people interested in the very early stages and having a sort of clientele, you know, sort of having some clients. They're not using what you're doing, but they're watching you do it. You can have discussions about it. So I think that's a big motivator right there. Oh yeah, definitely lower resolution. What did I do? $400. What did I do? I totally messed up my resolution here. If you don't have an audience, don't press. Oh, thank you, Basil Burrito. Yeah, and Lisp Gamer adds also the same kind of idea. That's very nice of you to say, Basil. So see, that's it. What Lisp Gamer said right there. I know I'll make a lot of mistakes, so a little nervous to stream, or people will know I really don't know what I'm doing. That's exactly what I was trying to say before. I get that feeling because before I started, that's exactly how I felt. I was like, you know, like, I think I've said this before, but like, you know, like at work, you know, sometimes I'm working on some complex animation stuff with like quaternions and doing all kinds of, you know, complex math. And then like, you know, when no one's looking, I pull up calc and I'll do some very simple simple calculations, or like especially when I have to deal with hex values. Like I'm not someone who grew up thinking, you know, or using hex values. So when I have to read a lot of hex, it's not natural for me, right? And so at first I was like embarrassed, you know, to take out calc, you know, and pull out and, you know, do this kind of thing where I'll be in like here in programmer mode, and I'll be like, okay, well, what is you know, what is F4 again? Oh, right, that's 244. You know, like I was embarrassed to do this at first because I'm like, oh, people must think I should know my hex values, but no, I don't. You know, it's not something I'm comfortable with. I did not spend years writing assembly code and using hex values. And as for, you know, doing calculations, I just want to be sure. I'll use calc for basic stuff. Sometimes I just don't want to think about it, and it's okay, right? And I make tons of mistakes. Anyone who's been watching my streams, you see I make mistakes. Like right now, I made some mistake because I have a lower resolution here than I expected. So somewhere I messed up, and I'm gonna go figure it out, right? And it's okay. Honestly, like what everyone feels when they see someone else make mistakes is, oh, I'm not the only one, right? So Baz Burrito's like, are there real people? Yes, there are. I think Lisp Gamer is one of them. Lisp Gamer is a developer from a while ago, and he's super comfortable with this kind of stuff because he wrote a lot of assembly. Oh, you needed a hex calculator, Lisp Gamer? Okay, that's good to know. There you go. Now, I've seen some people who seem very, very comfortable with hex, and really it's just a matter of spending enough time. I actually have gotten more comfortable with it, you know, just because I've been using it more. But I still, you know, I still need this thing for my conversions. So, you know, it's all right. Like, don't be embarrassed. I feel like if anything, you're doing everyone a favor by showing them that you know, that people make mistakes. You know what I mean? We're just human, right? I guess it keeps you honest, being on stream. I used to worry, you know, I remember when I first started streaming, I used to worry that, like, oh, is it going to be super entertaining, or I better prepare myself so that I can do something that looks good on stream, otherwise people will get bored. I was worried about that at the beginning, but, you know, after a while you quickly realize it doesn't really matter. You know, there are people who are interested in some things you do and not interested in others. Like right now I'm focusing on rendering, and I noticed there's definitely some people who are more into that. You know what, hold on, I'll be right back. Sorry about that. So this gamer says, I think your stream's a little difficult for some people. You're working at a pretty low level that most people don't even think about. Yeah, I mean, I guess, right? There are different levels and different areas that people are interested in. But like I was saying, you know, there are some people who come on my stream who maybe they don't, you know, don't read assembly code or don't know how to emulate, but they're way better than I am at graphics, you know? And so they'll give me tips and pointers on how to do this stuff better. On the other hand, I've also had people who come who are really low level and have had a lot of experience looking at disassemblies of different architectures, you know, embedded systems programmers, and they're really comfortable with this stuff too. And then I'll have people who, you know, have never touched any of this and are just curious to know how are emulators actually written. And hopefully I give a bit of a sense of that on the stream, you know? I think everything has its challenges, you know. There are a lot of streamers who are streaming game development, even in Unity, and that also has a lot of its own challenges. You know, not exactly the same kinds of challenges, but definitely a lot of challenges there as well. All right, so what happened to my resolution? I think I have an idea. I think I know where I messed this up. That PS4 emulator would certainly be a challenge. I think the jump from Nintendo and Vectrex to PS4 is quite the jump. But maybe. I'll never say never. I think those kinds of projects, trying to emulate modern hardware is a huge challenge. Probably something you want to do with it is x86, that's true. But the challenge really usually comes on the graphics side, right? Although I guess for PS4 it's not so bad. It is like a modern GPU that it's running, right? I think PS3 was really hard to emulate, is really hard to emulate with its SPUs and exactly. Okay, so what did I do? Yes, yeah, the high-level emulation approach that was used for N64. Definitely. Or I could do, you know, I think what's really interesting is the Dolphin emulator, the one that emulates first GameCube and then the Wii. Theirs is really cool because they, from what I understand, they're not really doing the high-level emulation. They are doing the low-level. But what they're doing is they're doing a lot of JIT. So they basically compile, you know, just in time to basically optimize as the code runs. So I don't know too much about how it actually works, but that's how they end up making it fast enough. Are you planning, or would you consider a stream or a few streams on compiling your emulator with mscripted? Yeah, maybe. That does sound interesting. So definitely there's going to be at some point a porting effort. Definitely I will be porting it to Linux. So I just want to make sure that everything compiles on and works and runs on another OS other than Windows. I don't have a Mac, so I won't be doing that one, but I suspect that once I've got it working and running on Linux, it wouldn't be a big job to get it running on Mac. And then yeah, maybe mscripten would be interesting to look at. Although I think a lot of my shader stuff might need some revisiting. I don't know. I haven't really looked at the shader side of JavaScript, but I guess it would be more like not JavaScript, but what's it called? WebGL, I guess. Oh, Lisp Gamer is asking which one. It's called Dolphin. Just look up Dolphin Emulator. So yeah, this one here. No, that's fine, man. Don't worry about it. So traditionally, computer programs have two modes of runtime, either interpreted or static ahead of time. Interpreted code is translated from a high-level language to machine code continuously during every execution, whereas statically compiled code is translated into machine code before execution and only requires this translation once. JIT compilers represent a hybrid approach, with translation occurring continuously as with interpreters, but with caching of translated code to minimize performance degradation. Yeah, I have to look into this at some point because it sounds super cool. Oh, don't worry, Basil Burrito. I don't really know enough about this either. Basically, what I know is that this, like what's being explained here about just-in-time compilers is you take, let's say, I guess while you're executing a ROM, you convert what the ROM wants to do in its native CPU architecture, let's say, into some kind of bytecode stream, so some kind of independent language, if you will, at that level. And then after that, you convert that into the native assembly, like the native code for your current target, and you compile that into something fast, you know, something like that. I'm sure Lisp Gamer will be able to explain it better than I can. I haven't spent enough time looking at JIT. I just kind of read about it here and there, but I haven't like put my hands in it, you know? So maybe someday I'll do that. Maybe I'll have to add JIT to Vectrexy. Oh, did I check? Okay. Oh my gosh, I checked that in, didn't I? Oh, yes I did. And that's funny. I was trying something on my laptop and I ended up dividing the window height and width by 2 just as a test, and I ended up accidentally committing that. It's right here, the mistake. So that's why my resolution is so so low. Alright, so it should be better now. Yeah, that already looks nicer. I don't really get this game. There's like these holes, and I don't see them. There, like what hole am I falling into? I think Lisp Gamer doesn't want to talk about where he works, but I can tell you that we worked together in the past. Darn it! Yeah, so this is pretty cool. All right, so let me correct this commit. Oh, let me remove this. What about you, Basil Burrito? What do you do? Like, what got you onto this stream? If you don't mind my asking. You don't have to say. I'm a web developer by profession, but I do simple game programming on the side as a hobby. I just wish I had more time for it. Yeah, I understand that. Time can be very difficult to come by, there's no doubt about that. Alright, so one of the things that I wanted to do, I wanted to see if I could speed up my rendering, because it's actually really slow. On my laptop it barely runs. I have so many questions. Actually, one of the questions I have is, there's something weird, and I don't quite understand why this is the case. Maybe somebody here will know. So one thing I noticed is that, like, my frame rate here, let's say I'm around, let's see, 90, around 90, let's say, when I'm on the main screen here. And the thing is, if I stretch this out wide, you see it affects my frame rate. Now I'm at around 70, 73, and I'm a bit unsure why that is. I wonder if it's because of... And I say I don't know why that is, and the reason I say that is because, I mean, what you see here, I have a bigger window, sure, right? So, I mean, obviously the idea is, oh, am I rendering all this black? But the truth is, I shouldn't be, because I don't, you know, I don't create a texture that is the size of the window. I create textures that are this size here, and I actually set my viewport to be this region here. So I should have no rendering going on. I'm not sending anything. There should be no shading of pixels in this black area here. But yet, I always have this, like when I maximize, you see it's like it drops quite significantly. Or even just like I said, if say we're at about 60, and then I go down here, and this hasn't changed. The size of this texture here has changed, but now I'm at like 100. Yes, I'm using SDL. Do you know something I don't know? Because I mean, even when I look in RenderDoc, right, I don't see what's going on there. You know, here you can see like this is, in fact, it's actually kind of interesting that there's any black at all here, to be fair. To be honest, I'm a little bit... Here, let me do another capture actually. It's not the GPU. Can you set full screen? So I'm not going full screen, and I suppose I could, but it's something about windowed mode, right? So, I mean, it's not really just a few pixels, right? Is that what you mean? I'm not sure I understand. Or you think it's just something else entirely? Back buffer depth. 1024 by 1024, 1 MIPS. Ah, crap. Something went wrong on my stream. This has happened before where RenderDoc like messes up my render state. Let me see if I can bring this back. Let's see. So you guys don't see me right now, right? Yeah. So RenderDocs does this sometimes. It messes up the state of of the render here. Let me see if I can fix that. Okay, I'll be right back. Just give me a second. Nope. Thanks, RenderDoc. All right, guys. Let me be right back. I'll just. Oh, whoa. Okay, this is so funky. I'm gonna try something again. No, okay, it's not working. Alright, I'm gonna cut the stream and I'm gonna be right back in a couple minutes. I'm just gonna reboot my machine. Sorry about that. So, yeah, just hold on, I'll be back.